Great win Wednesday night for the Toronto Raptors, who are still on the road in the West Coast. They faced the Memphis Grizzlies and won 126-113. Savanna Hamilton with you alongside Paul Jones and Sherman Hamilton. Amy Audibert will also be joining us a little bit later. Now, guys, this was my personal favorite win of the season. Not because it was pretty, it was not pretty at times, but because they really showed how they could rally back as a team. No hero basketball. As a team collectively come back together. But the person that really sticks out in the fourth quarter, at least, was Gary Trent Jr. So let's talk about him first. How did he help this team win?
He made shots, Savannah, and that's something that this guy has done all season. And I love the way he plays in that he hunts his shots, but he's not aggressive about it. He's not selfish about it. You watch him. He moves into space. He's got hands and feet ready to shoot, to catch and shoot. When the ball does come to him after a little bit of movement, he puts it on the floor, creates a little. If he has a shot, he takes it. If not, he continues to move the ball. I love what Gary Trent has done on the offensive end, and he was big in the fourth quarter. He's 5 of 8, and he's making shots off the natural flow of the offense, in transition, getting to spots, penetrating when it opens up and the opportunities present themselves. So I thought he did a great job, and he was huge in that fourth quarter.
Absolutely. And somebody who's been pretty consistent overall in the season, of course, has been Fred VanVleet. But Sherm, I'm going to ask you, is this his most complete game? Because he did have 23 points, 7 assists, and some steals, and a little rebounds, a little bit of everything. So what did you make of his play?
Well, maybe from a stat stuffing perspective, he might have had his most complete statistical game, but Fred has had games like this where he just plugs and play what's needed in any point of the game. He understands. He's got a great feel in terms of understanding who needs to get the ball, the time, the score, shot clock, possession counts. He's very good at that. And I thought against the Memphis Grizzlies, he did a very good job managing the game. In the third quarter, we saw Precious go off. The fourth quarter, we saw Gary Trent go off. And who was facilitating all that? It was Fred, making sure everything was going in the right direction. So his balance in that game against Memphis was excellent, considering he had to defend one of the most explosive guards in the NBA in Ja Morant. So just a very good job by Fred overall. His floor game was phenomenal. Plus, he filled up the stat sheet.
Absolutely. Somebody else who filled out a particular column, which our producer, of course, wants to highlight, plus 28 he got, was Precious Achiuwa. He also dropped 17 points in the third quarter. What did you make of his game last night?
Well, he was on. He was hot. He had it going. And to Nick Nurse's credit, as Nick always does, he rides the hot hand. Precious played a major chunk of that third quarter. And it's interesting. You think about it. He's back in a place where he's familiar, Memphis. I'm sure he had a whole bunch of tickets and people he had to get to the game. He wanted to perform well. He comes out after a slow first half, and the third quarter is all his. He makes a few threes, but take those 3 threes away. He scored 8 of his 17 points in the paint, and he was aggressive. I thought he did a terrific job, and he really gave the Raptors a lift. The first half was not good. They gave up 71 points. They weren't scoring well. Memphis was shooting a good percentage, and Precious just helped jumpstart everything in the third quarter. So good quarter for him, shows well in front of his people in Memphis, and then tells Nick Nurse, hey, I'm here if you need me. He did a great job in the third frame.
I do believe he was asked if he enjoys playing in Memphis. And
I think so.
I think so. I think the questions has been answered. But Sherm, somebody else that has really stood out last night, maybe in more of a growth term, was Scottie Barnes. He wasn't looking like himself for the past couple of games, but I feel like he's took a step. He had some turnovers earlier in the game. However, it felt like he got his composure back and was able to finish out strong.
Yeah, and I thought he was a little bit flat in the first half, and I personally think he got challenged in the second half to step his game up and really be more aggressive. And I thought he came out that third quarter with the right mentality in terms of really putting pressure, being aggressive. They ran some plays for him in order to score on the basket. He took advantage of that, but I think Scottie really had that flow in the second half, and this is a guy who, even when he's not scoring, he's still putting rebounds and assists on the board. So yes, he scored, but he also had 9 rebounds in the game. He just has a good feel, and he's always impacting the game on some level, whether or not he's scoring the basketball. And you talk about growth and development. That, to me, is a great sign for a young player to understand when that shot's not falling, how can I help my team win? And Scottie has figured that out because he's so skilled, he's a smart player, and he understands that his value goes way beyond just scoring the basketball.
Absolutely. Now we're going to hear from the team, Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr.
Really just my teammates finding me, Coach Nurse believing in me, calling certain sets, putting me in position to either score the basketball or make a play for somebody else. That was really just about it. Really just our intensity, you know. Tempers got the flaring a little bit, guys got the talking a little bit, you know, that can kind of put you on edge, give you a little edge to yourself. You know, our coaching staff does a great job of motivating us and keeping us on game plan and all that good things. So, you know, just staying with it, coming out strong and trying to get a W on the road. You could say that, you know, obviously people know I'm a pretty good shooter. They try to run me off the line so I don't get a shot up. If I pump fake, get in there, continue to work on what I work on all summer, my whole life, with my coaches, and, you know, play to the best of my ability that I can.
We just played harder, played like we cared. We're a young team, and sometimes it's hard to stress the urgency and, you know, what it takes to win in this league every night. And you can't go out there and go through the motions, or you're going to have a team put 71 on you in the first half, and then you'll be fighting uphill. So luckily we were able to turn it around, but it's not really the way we want to live, you know, going forward. Yeah, it's big. You know, it's going to take more than just one or two guys. We're going to need guys to make plays. We're going to need guys to execute, and all five being on the same page. And I think for the most part, offensively, we're usually pretty okay. We got to get better at executing our plays, but defensively, I thought we were really engaged and locked in as a five-man unit in the in the second half, and that was the difference. Just effort. I mean, I don't really have a crazy answer for you. Just effort. I can, you know, give you all the details of the words we used, you know, on how we played in the first half, but it's just effort and intensity, and we picked it up, and you know, that was the key.
Now, somebody that we saw more of last night was Malachi Flynn. He actually had 11 minutes, not too bad, but he made the most of those minutes by dropping 6 points, by having 4 assists. How effective was he as a floor general for the second string last night?
I thought he did a great job. First of all, let's give the young man some credit around being professional. He's not playing a lot of minutes. There were games early in the year where he saw absolutely zero floor time, but he stayed ready. I can think of some of the early games right here at Scotiabank Arena. Game's over, they've had their meeting. Malachi Flynn trots back out onto the floor with Jimmy Son to get his work in, get his shooting up, get his shots up. So let's give the young man credit for being professional. And that professionalism spills over into a night like last night. 5th game on the road trip. Guy's a little tired. Nick Nurse going to the bench, looking for a little spark. Malachi comes in. To your point, Savanna, did a great job running the second unit. Look at the game video. Screen and roll action. They drop. He's making shots. He gets into the lane. 4 assists, facilitating the offense. So a real solid impact in a very short time. And I credit his professionalism with a lot of that.
Absolutely. How easy is it to get down on yourself when you're not seeing floor time?
Yeah, it is. It is very easy. That's what this league is about, though. Your time will come.
Yes.
It's a long grind.
Absolutely. Now, somebody that has had a long grind in injury recovery has been Yuta Watanabe. So, Sherman, I'll go to you. How good was it to see him back out there?
Oh, it was special. I mean, this is one of the players for me in my books that I enjoy to see on the floor. He's got this energy, this love for the game, this passion that he shows when he's playing. And I really think Yuta did a great job doing what he does.
Yeah.
He provides energy. He's active. He's across the stat sheet. The numbers don't wow you, but they're very effective. And I thought he did a great job on the offensive glass. I thought he did a good job running the floor. You know, he did a good job defending as well. Had a block shot that turned into an opportunity for the Raptors. He just impacts the game beyond the stat sheet. And I love to see him because his activity and his versatility on the floor has winning impact. And we saw that in his first outing in a long time against the Memphis Grizzlies.
Absolutely. He's not that player that's going to drop 30 in a game or go off. Maybe, I'm never saying never, but like he's not that player that you expect that from. And so to see him go off in the ways that he does, I call him the glue on this team in a sense because he could bring together the defense very well. That was one of their better defensive games on this West Coast road trip, that is. So, you know, it's great to see just exactly what he does on the floor.
He's a very unselfish player in many ways. He's, you know, we've talked about it. He's the ultimate teammate.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of the ultimate teammate, we're going to hear from him actually, Yuta Watanabe and head coach Nick Nurse.
Well, we made kind of one major adjustment, but it really wasn't about that. It was, I mean, I kind of started the halftime with saying that here's an adjustment that'll help us with the Morant screen and rolls, and here's how we're going to cover it. But I said that isn't really the issue here. The issue is well, we were short. We were cutting corners on most of the defensive possessions. Like we got a keep the ball in front. If we don't, we got to help. If they kick it out, we got to contest, and then we got to rebound. And we were taking a breath at some point before one of those 4 points, and it was hurting us, right? Either we weren't keeping front, or we'd miss the help, or we'd miss the contest, or we'd not block out. So that more than anything was the adjustment. The guys just started playing a lot harder and a lot more connected and finishing the possessions. Yeah, you're right. I think you could give those two guys some really good credit for energy off the bench. And you could go a couple more steps. I thought Malachi provided some good kind of dirty plays. I mean, not getting dirty plays, not dirty plays, but you know what I mean? He dug the ball out and found some loose balls and some long rebounds, provided us with a spark. Precious certainly did with his offense there, just a flurry. And then Gary, who didn't have much going, provided his own kind of spark there to kind of start carrying us. And then I thought Freddie, we had about 5 possessions in a row where Freddie just did kind of one of everything. He hit Scottie for a roll layup. He hit Gary coming off. He rejected and got his own layup. He came off and hit a 3. Like he was just like orchestrating it all pieces of the offense. Thought it was awesome. I just think he ran down some loose balls when we were really having trouble doing that. He kept a few alive at the offensive end. Had a great block. Just some really good, hard playing things. I mean, did he score? It seems like to me he made a layup or 2 as well, but nope, he didn't. He made 3 out of 4 free throws, so I guess he got fouled on a couple of them. Just good energy, good spark, and kind of all hustle plays.
Great. I was waiting for this moment for like month and a half, and I didn't shoot well, but we got the dub tonight. That's what I'm really happy about it. And like every single second, I enjoyed it. So it was great. No, still same goal. Nothing has changed. Injury happens. As long as we play basketball. And I thought like I was, taking care of my body. I was eating well, sleeping well, but some injury sometimes happens. So, but my goal hasn't changed. Still same goal. And I just wanna, help my team to get some W and go to playoffs, stuff like that. So, nothing has changed. Yeah, it was really stressful. For us basketball players, not be able to play is, it's the most stressful things. So that was really stressful, but I really appreciate like my coaching staff, my teammates always communicating with me, my trainers always took care of me. So even though I wasn't playing, I was still able to focus on what I have to do, stuff like that. So it was stressful, but at the same time, it was I think it was good to, I had a really busy summer, so it was good to take some time off, I guess. Yeah, they were, they always talk to me like, no rush, like take some time and stuff like that. So, like I kind of wanted to come back, like earlier, like as soon as possible, but they made sure that I don't like force anything, like, well, I don't really push myself. So or they, they're always communicating with me, and that kind of like make me like calm down a little bit. So I really appreciate, what they have done for me last about a couple months. I told you guys, I jump anytime. If I had a chance 100 times, I jump 100 times. That's what I do. And, thank God coach challenged the call, and we won. So, but that's something I can bring to the team. Hustle, energy, stuff like that. So if I have like more chance in the future, I definitely jump in again. And no matter what happens, I'm gonna just keep hustling, keep bringing energy to the team. Yeah, I just want to say like thank you for showing some love. Even though I was playing, like I was able to feel the fans showing some love. So I'm excited to go back to Toronto and play in front of amazing fans.
Now joining us is Amy Audibert. Now she's in Memphis, but she's going to be heading to Indiana shortly. Amy, I want to ask you, what's been the mood of the team so far?
Well, I think the mood of the team is pretty happy this morning. They literally sucked the sunshine out of the Memphis sky with the way that they played that second half. But the Toronto Raptors, in my opinion, have done an excellent job on this trip in just never too high, never too low, coming in every day, going to work, and also just tempering their expectations, understanding that integrating Pascal back, understanding how polarizing Scottie Barnes can really be. That's going to take some time. It was going to take some reps. It's still happening, but these guys have done an excellent job, and I go to the leadership of Fred VanVleet, who is the voice in the locker room, who has gotten these guys every day to show up and compete. The other thing that I thought was very noticeable was when they got Yuta Watanabe back last night and the way that this Raptors team celebrated every time he did something good. They like each other. And so the mood of the team is exactly where you would want it to be at this point in the season. Show up, get to work every day.
Amy, the Raptors are now 2-3 on the road. Obviously, they have Indiana coming up. What would it mean if they go 3-3?
West trips are tough, right? They always are. And this one in particular, going up against Golden State and Utah, in my opinion, are the most complete teams we've seen yet this season on the entire league, but also Portland was very good. So they've played some beasts. I thought that when you look at the individual games, they never got blown out. Even when things looked like they were starting to get out of hand, and I think of Golden State in particular, they kept fighting back and getting it to 10-8. And so the record overall at 3, if the Raptors can take care of business tomorrow night at Indiana and get that win, I think 3-3 is very solid at this point in the season. This was going to be a grueling trip. It'll be 13 days before these guys get to touch back on Canadian soil later this week. So again, very happy about the result, but another big one tomorrow.
Amy, thank you so much. Time to look ahead at the next matchup. They got the Indiana Pacers, a team that they have already seen twice this season and come out on top of course. But Jonesy, it's so hard to beat a team twice, let alone the third time so early in the season. How are they going to get it done?
Well, they're going to have to do a lot of what they did in the first two. Now, mind you, Indiana was a team that was really finding itself early. Rick Carlisle takes over, instituting a new, there's a new coach, instituting a new system, and then they had injuries. You think about when the Raptors played Indiana in the first game, he was going to town in the second quarter, then partway through the third quarter, Malcolm Brogdon gets hurt. It's a quick turnaround between the two teams. He misses half of that game and then the entire next game. He's back. The Pacers are playing better. They've kind of caught on to what Rick Carlisle is asking them to do, and they're in it for the long haul. So the Raptors are going to be facing, in a sense, a little bit of a different team. They need to look after Brogdon. They need to be aware of Miles Turner, and they did a terrific job on Domas Sabonis early on. He's another guy that they're going to have to be aware of. They swarmed him. They made him turn it over. They took away his aggressiveness. All of those things will have to be at play again. However, Indiana knows they're coming too.
Absolutely, and they've had time to adjust and make some key. And also, as you mentioned, Brogdon, he's back in the lineup as well. So we'll talk about what our keys will be a little bit later. But let's touch on Chris Duarte.
Yes.
You know, he's a Canadian out of Montreal, as we were just talking about off camera. But how, you know, he was a 4-year guy that spent time in university. He completely developed his game before entering the league. You know, what's the perceptions around that sort of entering the league in terms of you're not coming out as a rookie, you're coming out as a senior, and the perceptions of what that really means?
Yeah, the 19-year-old versus a guy who stayed in college for 4 years. And, you know, it's amazing that they call a 24-year-old old in the world. But, you know, I think there's benefits to having an older player, a player who's stuck around for all 4 years. Listen, there's on-court development and there's off-court life development. When we talk about Chris Duarte, he's a mature guy. He's coming into the league as a bit more mature from a mental perspective and an emotional perspective. And he's going to learn the NBA game, I think, because of that maturity. And also, we talked about earlier about Malachi Flynn, another 4-year player, and a guy who understands he's mature enough to go through these lulls and understand I'm not playing tonight. I got to stay professional, got to put the work in. He's not going to act like a 19-year-old. So there are benefits to that, and I know the NBA loves youth. It's like a tagline to say, I got this guy at 19. That's great. There's great talent, but they could be missing out on some quality players who might have been a little bit older, a few years older, who could still perform. And I think Chris Duarte is doing a great job of showing how valuable those extra years in college can be for a player like him.
Absolutely. And you know, it's funny. I think about, the guys that picked up the game of basketball late, let alone playing in college. Pascal Siakam, Chris Boucher, these guys, they're as talented. They're talented enough to be in the NBA and be solid contributors to this league. And yet, there's no perception around, they're too old. I don't know about that. But let's talk about our keys to this matchup because, and maybe I'll kick this one off because I do think Sabonis, you have to shut him down. At the same time, if you're Sabonis and you got defeated by the Raptors twice, I think you're coming out with a bit of a vengeance. You're going to think about, okay, how can I get around the double? How can I get myself open? How can I get my teammates open so I'm still effective in many senses? He has a great outside shot. And so maybe he's going to look to stretch them a little bit more outside instead of just going to work in the paint. But at the same time, he also knows he's 7 foot something. He's a huge guy.
Yeah.
He could go to work down there too. He'd also seen that.
Look,
yeah.
we saw the Raptors swarm him. We saw them push him out onto the floor and maybe entice him into long shots. He's a guy that if he does get down low, he's going to do some damage. When he did get down there, Toronto did a nice job of double teaming him, deflecting a lot of passes, creating turnovers. So how you treat Sabonis is the first key. And then a guy like Brogdon, people look at him, he's a terrific shooter, but Sherm, he's a guy that I think you got to keep him in front of you because he does a great job of getting to the basket and creating for other people.
Yeah, and he's a smart player. He understands how to play downhill physical basketball, but he can run a half court very well. And I really think if you look at the last game against Memphis for the Raptors, they did a great job coming out in the third quarter and really digging in defensively. I thought the first half, they allowed Memphis to move the ball freely. They didn't really challenge the passes, didn't really challenge the dribble. The second half, they got into the passing lanes, they got into the ball handlers and made them have to work harder. Their activity on the back end in terms of rotation was great. They've got to start the game against Indiana like that with that type of defensive intensity and focus. Offense comes off of that. They can score and transition off of turnovers. But if they pick up Indiana from the jump and get after them on the defensive end, that's going to set a great tone for them.
Absolutely. Now you could watch the Indiana Pacers face off against the Toronto Raptors. They'll be in Indiana, of course, Friday the 26th at 8 p.m. Watch it on TSN and listen to it on Sportsnet. Thank you for watching another episode of Raptors Today from Savanna Hamilton, Paul Jones, Sherman Hamilton, and of course, Amy Audibert. Got Armando behind the scenes as well as Jake LaRue and our editor. Thank you.